Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today, I'm looking at The Incredible Hulk, number 331. Before I get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to all my subscribers. The channel's been growing at a nice steady pace lately, and I really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button, and you'll see more of this awesome content. So I was thinking, I haven't done enough Hulk books on this channel, and the Hulk is kind of my favorite character. Definitely the character that really brought me into collecting comics as like a regular collector. And it was shortly after this issue, later in the McFarlane era, but it was Peter David and Peter David's storytelling that kept me coming back to the Hulk month after month for years and years. I always look at that Peter David run is up there with like the Claremont X-Men run, the Byrne FF run, the Miller Daredevil run. It's just one of those like runs on a character that would define the essence of what I love about the Hulk. Peter David did not really like a dumb Hulk. He liked a smart Hulk. So he came on shortly after the Hulk had returned to the gray. And the way that came about, so Bill Mantlo, who had an extremely long run on the Hulk, when he wrapped up his run, John Byrne took over. And I think John Byrne had plans to do a pretty extended run, but then he bolted for DC to go reboot Superman. So the Hulk was a little bit in limbo for a bit. Al Milgrom became the writer, and I don't know why they decided to turn him gray. I mean, it was kind of like a lot of the characters in Marvel were going through changes. Spider-Man had the black costume. Walt Simonson had put this like armor and like a beard on Thor. So like Cap had, become like the captain and stuff. So there was just a lot of changes. So maybe it was editorial. It was like, hey, do something with the Hulk. Why don't we make him gray again like he was in his first issue? But they didn't really know what they were doing with it after that. So for several issues, this green Hulk right here is actually Rick Jones. And let's see, the gray Hulk came in issue 324. So we've got like, this is like the 7th issue roughly, and the gray Hulk has only been really in it a few times, even though they made the corner box the gray Hulk. But Peter David comes on. This is not his first issue. He did do a fill-in issue a couple issues before this, and but this was the first of his extended run. We get McFarlane art with it, which is always a bonus in itself. And what I've come to realize too, not at this point yet, but McFarlane was actually doing the Hulk and Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, simultaneously for about 6 months or so. And just when I think of the detail level of McFarlane's work, I was surprised to learn that. I mean, when I think of like guys that do multiple books, you think of like Kirby, John Byrne could do it, John Romita Jr., there's not a lot of guys I think of that are like, we're doing multiple books, and come to find out McFarlane was one of them. So we start out with the Rick Jones Hulk out in the desert, just screaming at the moon, I guess. And stuff that was going on with the Hulk at this time. The Hulk had been separated. That was part of John Byrne's run. He had been separated. Him and Bruce Banner were kind of dying because they were separated. So they had to remerge them, and then that's when during the remerging process is when Bruce came out and he was the Gray Hulk. But at this point, they were pretending like he wasn't still turning into the Hulk. But also in that same process is when Rick got, bathed in gamma rays and he became a Hulk. So the first thing I think that Peter David wanted to do was just kind of like clean up that situation. There was a S.H.I.E.L.D. base called Hulkbuster Base. There were these characters that were like part of a Hulk-busting squad that were working with Bruce Banner to try to recapture the Hulk when they were separated originally. This guy did not trust Banner because during a training exercise, a woman on the team who he had started to have like a romantic involvement with had been killed. So there was always this tension between them. Doc Samson was hanging around some too. And Clay Quartermain was like the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who was supposed to be like overseeing the whole thing. Meanwhile, we've got this janitor guy who looks awfully shady and suspicious, kind of up to something Here's our Hulkbuster things that look like the snow speeders from Star Wars, kind of with like a Battlestar Galactica front. But man, they are straight up snow speeders. This was like 1986, so this was even a few years after Star Wars. 87 even. Yeah, 1987. It's kind of funny that they went with that. Maybe they thought Star Wars had faded out enough they could just McFarlane just decided he could just straight up copy it. And I don't recall if we'd seen these ships in previous issues before. I don't think we had. A lot of yakety yak talking here. They're out looking for the Rick Jones Hulk, but I don't think they know that it's Rick Jones still at this point. Some great action here. This is some good quality McFarlane work. Attacking the ship, which is kind of what we got on the cover. But even on the cover, that doesn't quite look as snow speedery as this did. Now, McFarlane did not do this cover. Again, we've got tons of like good action. I think maybe Banner says it's Rick here because he knew. So kind of a twist of why are we saying don't let the Hulk win? Let her go, Rick. And he's like, Rick Jones? Rick Jones is the Hulk? So yeah, so that's where they figured out. Kind of a twist on things there because in the early Hulks, when people didn't know that Banner was the Hulk, except for Rick Jones, and Rick Jones was always like trying to cover for him. But then there came a story where the Hulk got like zapped away into the far future, I think it was, and was believed to be dead. And Rick basically spilled the beans to Glenn Talbot at the time that Banner was the Hulk. And then, of course, the Hulk came back, and everybody knew Banner and the Hulk were the same. So it's kind of funny that you're getting like a flip of that emotion here of Banner screaming out to the Hulk and saying, "Let her go, Rick," and then being like, "Rick Jones, this changes everything." Some weird coloring with the green pants and the green skin. Pretty solid where they flip around. It's a cool like flip right there as she heads to this rock cliff and goes just like skirts across it to get him to come off of it, which I mean somehow she's able to flip it back around again. Pretty good chasing. I think the hair is funny with McFarlane. It's like he didn't quite have the best grasp of hair yet. There's Betty with the bob. I'm not a big fan of Betty. I'll admit it. I've never liked Betty as Bruce's wife. And now we got this shady looking fella roaming around again. And you're like, what's he up to? And they're there to pick up, I think they were getting the body of General Ross, who just passed away in the previous issue. Yeah, that's what they're doing. And this janitor guy, he was working near the Gamma base. You see him, he gets like the wrench, and they're in there it's like the coroner. And you see the wrench, you get wham, 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 and then him falling over. Oh yeah, this guy. So this added some more drama for Betty, where this guy shows up and says he's her husband. That's just some more soap opera drama. Lots more good Hulk action with the Rick Jones Hulk. Like I said, they weren't. If you read the few issues where Rick Jones was the Hulk, it's like they didn't know where they were going with it. It's like they had the Gray Hulk and they had the Rick Jones Hulk. They weren't really using. It's almost like they were trying to establish Rick as the new Hulk and not really use the Gray Hulk, but it just never flowed until we get Peter David coming on, and he just quickly starts trying to tie this stuff up. So we have the big issue here where he's trying to capture the Rick Jones Hulk. Even though this is early McFarlane, you really see it like when you get like these kind of close-up panels and stuff. Good smashed up snow speeder there. He escaped at least. So Rick didn't kill him at least. And to help Rick, Banner goes back to his old cave where he used to hang out and gets on his gamma machine and turns himself into the Grey Hulk. That's a pretty cool. This isn't even the full-fledged McFarlane Grey Hulk. You got a little bit there, but that brow is not what we're going to get over the course of the next several issues. Let's see, this is 331, and McFarlane did it until 345. So, you get, and he did it. McFarlane actually, his first issue was the one before this. So, you got 15 issues of McFarlane Hulk. There was a fill-in there. Maybe 2, but I think only 1. But yeah, so, that's a cool-looking Hulk, but that's not the McFarlane Hulk when you think of it. When you think of how McFarlane drew the Hulk. And that could be the inker, McFarlane could have been doing it the way he wanted to do it, and the inker, who I believe is Bob McLeod. No, Kim Del Mulder. I don't even know who that is. That's an unfamiliar name to me. But they could have been told to tone it down. So he comes in, then the Hulk sees the machine and smashes it because he doesn't want to turn back to Banner, although that's not how it works. And then you got our shady guy who rolled up on the cave, and he's like, "No, why did you do this? You great imbecile. What did you hope to accomplish?" And the Hulk's basically like, "I don't know who you are, but I was doing it so I didn't have to turn back to Banner." He's like, "I know more about you than you do. You don't recognize me, but why should you when you knew me as the leader?" So this is the leader. You, the leader, that crummy egghead who always wanted me dead. But what's happened? Head's normal, skin's pale white. So how? And then he kind of doesn't really matter, but basically saying like, "Look, I can help Rick Jones and you." That's a cool. I wonder if that's meant to be a full moon white because this is lit up, or if they meant it to be a new moon. Kind of ends abruptly. We've got gray matter. He goes on to explain how the Hulk is, the Grey Hulk comes out at night in the dark, and the different moon levels, like a new moon, he's the strongest, and a full moon is when he's weakest because there's, more sunlight reflecting. And coming up in the next few issues, he'll end up getting the Hulk to lure Rick Jones Hulk in and use this equipment to essentially siphon off the gamma off of Rick Jones Hulk to turn himself back into the leader and cause problems for the Hulk over the next several issues. It's a Killer Kirby Silver Surfer being used in 1987. They were digging deep, pull that one out. Well, that's all I got for this one. This one is a fun start to an incredible run, no pun intended, or maybe it was. I'll definitely do more of the Peter David run as I go along with my channel because, like I said, it's one of my favorite ones, and it's just fun to revisit these books, and especially like these McFarlane issues, but then we get into the Jeff Purvis issues, and Dale Keown, of course, and Gary Frank, Liam Sharp. So many good artists are on this run too, so we'll definitely dive more into these Hulks. So that's all I got for now, and until next time, read your comics.